But although, or both of them are pointing to each other being holier than thou, like they're right, but the both sides are ignorance because they lack the true understanding. So, again, the right might use like holy racial jokes, or they can be either direct or indirect with their racism or their hatred, and the left can do the same thing. And they all follow the same source and understanding. In other words, it's not unity but division. It's not working together but working against one another. And negative consequences occur because neither of them are working towards a truly better system. Granted, if it were that way, we would be changing the whole understanding of exactly what is a democracy and what is a republic. I mean, we all know that the republic is going by the letter of the law, but then sometimes you get people who are working on the right side, but they abuse the letter of the law. And likewise, the left appears to be working for the letter of the law, but then follow the same procedure. So then, your solution, you're questioning, well, how do we solve this problem? So because they're both anti one another, which is this current anti-Christ or anti-you, anti-system, anti-humanity, anti-globe, anti-everything, anti-good relations with our with other countries and working one another, because of this very same system is built in such a way that it's not creating unity. So the right may make racial jokes, and then the left may make straight jokes or racial jokes coming from the other direction. And this is all ignorance on both sides. So what they're both doing is throwing another log into the fire and increasing this sadistic understanding. Although they appear or try to appear as they're good. And many times you find out that they're not very good. And you find out that there's a lot of evil stuff. So if you know a person's inside, you'll know his outside and his true structure. So while a lot of people, they appear to be this good structure, they also live a life of secrecy and a life of deception in which they're hurting people. And so they use this same system to try to describe God. So it's like a person saying, well, God is bad because he wants to willy-nilly just throw people in hell. And so they choose to hate God because, first of all, they lack understanding and knowledge. But also, by the time they're using this understanding of hating God to also, why don't you just throw in your fellow man? So then they also hate their fellow man, as opposed to saying, well, God is good, and they love God, and this way in turn also love their fellow man. So their very belief also helps you to understand exactly what angle they're coming from and how they're describing themselves and who they really are. There are people that says nobody knows if I like you or not, and so he's automatically saying with that belief that he's deceptive, as opposed to say people know exactly where and how I stand because I'm honest. But there are those that say, well, you don't know what I'm feeling, because some people are afraid that the other people can read them. And most likely do, because they're up to no good. Because if they were up to good, then they wouldn't care if another person would be able to read them. But so they appear to be holier than thou and helping others, but in secret, they want to kill and destroy. So the separation, in other words, when God sends someone to hell, it is not because God refuses that person. It's because you have a freedom of choice to either be good or evil. And so if you reject God, then you reject the good, you reject the love, and you choose evil, not the good. Of course, God giving you free will, he's not going to force you into heaven. Nor does he want you to come to heaven, because you reject good, you reject love, and so you wouldn't fit in. Just like a good person wouldn't fit into hell. Most likely the devil don't want you, or Satan don't want you in hell, because you're going to cause more problems. So he'll reject the bad and accept the good. And when the bad comes to him, this is his realm, these are his people. And all these people are the ones that rejected God, but then they claim God to be evil when it was them who are evil. So they're lying hypocrites. They're deceptive. There's no truth in them. As opposed to a person says, well, I don't want evil, I want the good. So he's accepted by God because he's following that particular structure. So although there are appears to be two political parties, they are both the same because they both lack understanding from different angles. So we will not change. So, in other words, follow the human instruction. If nothing changes and this whole world goes to pot, and then you can see everybody just going crazy, most likely, hopefully, this won't happen, because this is supposed to be the year of when we become enlightened. This is post the human instruction, and we can do things like we never had done before once we start working together. Even in all branches of the government and politics, from the FBI to the CIA to the police to the workforce to schools to libraries, any or in all of these agencies, including churches, all teach and go by this very same logic and ignorance, or logic of ignorance. And unless you will understand the human instruction and therefore become truly enlightened, you are an indentured servant to the system, which is a direct and indirect suppression of spiritual, financial, economical growth for all who are under this matrix without the knowledge of what is really going on. So there are many cover-ups and lies about what is the truth, and the name-calling and conspiracy theorists. There is no doubt that there are indeed conspiracies that exist, and most likely will exist and continue to exist, with the countless of whistleblowers from the past, or the deaths of different people, including presidents and political criminals, going way back to people who try to sound the horn as to, well, this is the problem, and then they get crucified for it. So they become political criminals all throughout time, which doesn't help the growth of our existence. Now, in God's understanding, he sends people to help us throughout time, which little by little we are working towards creating a better system. But from like Watergate to Edward Snowden, and of course there's many other names. I'm just going or talking about current events as opposed to way past events from like biblical times or before. Although we'll get into that as well. All will be shown over time. So all these people, they have receipts, as in other words, proof of these atrocities. Even our beloved FBI had been showing committing these atrocities and cover-ups and harassments and someone say, well, that's not true, and you only need not to go too far. I mean, in 1971, there were some stolen FBI files as the COINTELPRO operations, or the secret bribery tapes of Malcolm X. And just FYI, he was proven to show that he was truly worthy as a person of character, because in those secret bribery tapes with the FBI, you could see Malcolm X, although they offered him a bribe to rat out the NOI, he chose to not to rat out his group or his people. And it's very important that you understand exactly what kind of person they are in secret, which then will reveal who they really are overtly, as opposed to someone just lying and then trying to perpetrate a fraud as to he's helping you, but in reality he's just helping himself and actually hurting many people over the long run. So the them is this structure, the sub-wing of the of using negatives, confusion and hate and fear and anxiety. And you see that real clearly when the left starts threatening people and implying to threaten people, and then blaming it on the right, and it goes on because if one person disrespects another and neither of them are good, eternally they're going to have a war. You're talking about that's how they kept the Ebony Men in bondage so long, because they continue on the same system. But once you awaken, the game it's over. They're causing havoc and problems to good citizens, to harangue them, to suppress them. So the evil is not a threat to them. As a matter of fact, it helps throw another log on the fire. So they're more likely to get the evil man out as opposed to the good man, who's or an intellectual individual that clearly sees the problem and is helpful in finding a solution that's good over time. But you'll have right now currently negative business practices and suppression of knowledge and technology and ingenuity by suppressing people by their character, as opposed to helping that individual because you know that he's there or she's there in order to help society and help alleviate any problem that you can mention, from pollution to war, to construction, to farming practices, to our diet, but they're not doing that. They're actually suppressing and the technology. So they offer inferior knowledge and technologies in all fields, and that causes more pollution and sickness, and they spread this inferior knowledge all over the planet. That's a detriment of mankind, and the investment in our future therefore becomes inferior, including our inventions, because everything is a tool. So are we going to use the hammer to build a house, or are we going to use a hammer to start beating each other's brains in? And you'll see that that everything that is invented is a tool. It's not the abscess or the void of the good, because we can invent, but it's actually a tool that we can use towards the good or the bad, that can cause harm or help and heal. But this negative system has been around for so long, and a lot of people don't know how do we get out of it, which is why the human instruction is here. But the system for so long was that this negative teachings, which is creating negative social structures, which causes also negative time, which causes also negative histories, and which also continues to stifle growth and create distraction and problems as opposed to clarity. Their orchestrated, negative orchestrated perception and feelings is used to control you and is inferior as opposed to truth and logic and love, which all comes from above, meaning the white, the good, claiming feelings in order to use to intimidate through emotions, as opposed to propelling people with the positive emotions to do better, therefore becoming a self-fulfilling prophecy of negatives used to control. Even the police at times will use this as well, will lie and twist the words around or the laws around to justify their lack of control or their lack of good understanding in order to punish those who are against their ignorance. And they are guilty of the very same things they're trying to project on another, but because of the system is also them and corrupting the people in secret organizations that help to perpetuate this, are also guilty of following along in this negative order. But exposing the truth and has been used for centuries as a tool to silence, harass, invade, and continue those who are working towards a better way. Otherwise, we're going to end up in a world of destruction by our own ignorance, which then becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy of our structure. And therefore claiming the other person as bad when they in turn also are bad because they lack this understanding. So some would also make things bigger than they are in order to attack a person. So you might have done something small and they'll make it look big or lie about it to get other people to join in and say, well, this guy's a beast or he's a problem, we got to eliminate him. And then some people who break a lot of laws, they'll make it smaller, make it less important, like, no, that's not really all that, it's irrelevant. So they're using this bigger and smaller warping in order to make things come out as a perception in a direction when it's all lies and deception, either directly or indirectly. So it's saying that, if they don't want you in anywhere position, it'll cause you all this anxiety. Again, using the particular organizations, which are meant to help, but they'll be used to restrain. And they want you to feel like you're powerless and that you're worth nothing. That you were less than, you were unworthy, you were crazy, you were dumb, you were not intelligent, your ideas mean nothing, just so they can also steal your ideas. So you come up with a great idea, that's nothing, and that's crap, there's no good. And in the back of their head, they're like, damn, that's a good idea, I'm going to start a business tomorrow. Think about what they did to Nikola Tesla. They just took all his ideas basically, and somebody else made massive profits off it. And then instead of bringing more people to work for him, they claim him to be a monster. But every time he had a great idea,